I don't really like smartwatches. I think they're kind of pointless. I've tried owning quite a few smartwatches in my life and it always goes like this. I unbox it and think, wow, it's a watch, but better. And then throughout the day, I keep getting pinged every 5 seconds from my group chats, or it detects that I've been walking for 10 minutes, like, okay, I already knew that. And then I do one workout and end up finishing my day with like 50%. So then I just give up and end up wearing something basic. But then I realized that I don't hate smartwatches, I just hate that they're trying to be mini computers on my wrist. And then I thought, surely there must be a watch that does all the basic stuff without all of this bloatware. And I think I found something perfect for me. This is the Garmin Forerunner 165, and oftentimes you can find this for less than half the price of the Galaxy Watch 8 Classic, which is basically one of the best Android watches that you can get. So I got both of these watches and I wore both of them on each wrist like an absolute weirdo to see which one I would end up hating less. And to no one's surprise, I was immediately overstimulated by having my phone and now 2 smartwatches buzzing all the time. My immediate observation is just how simple this watch is. It's all plastic, but it doesn't feel cheap. It feels simple. I mean, look, it literally weighs half as much as the Samsung watch. And this thing has 5 buttons. Yes, please, give me all the buttons. The top right one launches the sports menu where you can quickly select your activity, like, look at this, 1, 2, 3 buttons and now I'm running. Okay, maybe a little bit later, I kinda just ate, so... And what's so cool about having so many buttons is the fact that you don't really need to use the touchscreen. When you start a run, if you think about it, you don't want to be using a touchscreen. You're gonna be bouncing and sweating and you'll probably end up misclicking something. So by default, when you're running, the touchscreen is disabled and you have to use one of these up and down buttons for navigation. Speaking of, that top left button is the light button, which turns off the lights. But if you hold it, it opens this wheel menu with stuff like alarms, timers, or the wallet, in case you actually want to use the watch instead of just looking at it. Obviously, this is nowhere near the amount of options that you can get on Samsung, but if you think about it, why do I need a calculator app on this watch? Is it really easier to use this tiny touchscreen rather than just take out my phone out my pocket? And why am I allowed to watch YouTube on this 1-inch screen? How much battery does that even use? I don't have much to begin with. I don't need an Android on my wrist when I already have one right next to me and I already use this too much. But what I do need is a good tracker, and I think this is a pretty damn good one. So today I decided to go to the gym to test both watches, and I did some lifting and some light running, and at the end of 30 minutes, the Samsung watch estimated double the calories. How does that even happen? I feel like one of these watches is gaslighting me, and I don't know about you, but the lower number just feels more believable. I just don't remember burning that many calories. Speaking of calories, I love tracking them because then I can just go to McDonald's and undo all my progress in 2 minutes. My heart rate went up to 150 just from climbing some stairs. This watch is exposing how bad my fitness is. And at the end of the day, the Garmin watch estimated slightly less steps than the Samsung. And I have no way of verifying that because obviously I didn't count all the 12,000 steps. But again, somehow I kind of prefer if the watch underestimated them because then I would actually want to walk more. I did some research online and people say that the Garmin watches tend to be more accurate than even the Galaxy watches. So basically that's what makes them better than even the cheap trackers. Swiping through these menus, I customized it to show the most useful stuff like notifications, weather, and the heart rate, which by default continuously monitors your heart rate 24/7. Obviously you can enable this on Samsung, but it's not on by default, and that's gonna drain more battery, and I don't have much battery to sacrifice. I'll probably not even turn it on. Obviously there's stuff like the sleep score and steps and calories, but there's this cool feature called the body battery, which shows how much energy you have throughout the day. So for example, right now I have only 25 points left because I had a long day, but it also takes into account that I had a highly stressful period at 12:49 that drained my energy. Apparently. This kind of feels like a video game now. The more I sleep, the more points I get, the more I'm stressed, the more points I lose, and I don't want to lose any more points. I want to take my life seriously now. So after the end of the first day, I only lost 11% on my Garmin watch and almost 40% on the Samsung. See, this is basically my biggest problem with smartwatches. I just don't want to charge them every 2 days. As you can see, it would take me like an hour and a half to charge it fully, so I can't really charge it in the morning, and then I can't really charge it before bed because that would disable my sleep tracking features. And yeah, I could disable a bunch of stuff like the always on display, the GPS, the Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, everything. I could just disable the whole watch, but then at that point, why am I using such an expensive watch? But then speaking of charging, Samsung uses the flimsiest chargers I've ever used. The magnets can't even support the weight of the watch, whereas the Garmin uses some weird connector that plugs into the watch, but at least I know that it's secure. And I don't want to discredit the Samsung watch because it is a really good watch for certain type of people. My absolute favorite feature on the Galaxy Watch is this rotating bezel. It makes navigating so much easier and more satisfying, and you can even use it to adjust the volume when listening to music. And I'm not even exaggerating, this is like the coolest, most satisfying sound I've ever heard. This is amazing. This is why if you do go for the Samsung, always go for the classic watches like the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic, because this rotating bezel is like the best feature. If only this Garmin watch had a rotating bezel, it would be perfect. Also, sometimes it's kind of nice to have Google Maps or the camera preview or being able to respond to WhatsApp messages. But in my opinion, that's a big trade-off to have all of these phone features and then as a result, only have like 2 days of battery. But then the Garmin watch also isn't perfect. It definitely has some problems. When you first use it, you have to pair it by scanning a QR code and then download a dedicated app, which also seems to have a bunch of other apps that I have no idea what they do and which ones I even need. Also, the menus can be a little clunky sometimes. For example, to go to the settings, I need to hold the light button, then hold the up button, scroll all the way down, and now I see the settings. Also, I put the timer on my home screen, but to actually set the timer, I have to tap and hold, then confirm the minutes, confirm the seconds, confirm the timer, and then start the timer. And if you didn't customize it like that and you didn't put the timer on the home screen, you'd have to hold the light button, then add a timer to this rotating menu screen, set it up, and then you wouldn't actually be able to see the timer unless you went back to that menu. That seems a little bit annoying. And also, after that workout that I did, it said that I did 5 reps. What do you mean 5 reps? I definitely did more than 5 reps. But apart from that, I loved using this watch. It doesn't feel as premium as other smartwatches. The menus can be a little annoying to navigate, but it did so many things right. My steps, my calories, my sleep, my heart rate, my stress levels, everything that I needed was done well and nothing more. It didn't feel like it was distracting me. I didn't feel overwhelmed by the excess apps, and I had absolutely zero battery anxiety. And because I don't need another smartphone on my wrist, this felt like an absolutely perfect addition to my life. So yeah, I think I finally found a smartwatch that doesn't suck. Not because it does everything perfectly, but because it knows when to stop. If you want to buy any of these watches, I'm gonna leave some links down below. And if you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.